Joe presents Liquid Football, sponsored by Paddy Power.
Hello and welcome to Liquid Football, a new show on Joe together with Paddy Power that's going to take you inside the dressing room and put you in the shoes or the boots of the players. At least that's the plan. Joining me today, Steve Sidwell, former midfielder for Brighton, Chelsea, Fulham.
Keep going.
Go on, stop me when you're ready. And Jon Walters, who played 56 times for the Republic of Ireland and well over 200 times for Stoke, amongst other things as well. But Jon, first pre-season that you haven't been a professional footballer. What have you been up to? Have you been really living it?
It's all right, isn't it? Yeah. I've not missed a run, I'll tell you that now. I've been in Portugal a couple of times. Saw Peter Crouch there. Saw the big man.
A nice beer.
Riding round in a golf buggy Hummer around Quinta del Lago Street.
Golf buggy Hummer?
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know they made them.
I bumped into him on one morning with my little boy. My little boy's obsessed with him.
Yeah.
And I bumped into him and he said, come and have a look at the car we've got. I've gone to the car park and there's a Hummer golf buggy.
Pimped out golf buggy.
He's riding around the streets in. But,
I was going to ask you if you were missing it, because what you've actually done on your holiday is go back into a football environment, isn't it?
To be fair, it's I've not missed it one bit. No running, nothing like that. I go to the gym 5 or 6 times a week anyway. But
he was always good in the running. He was at the front.
Yeah, I'm always been good at that. So,
but I've never understood that, because you've had a year now, Steve, haven't you, to kind of get your head around it. But I never understood why you'd be forced to keep fit every day, have to watch what you eat. Why you wouldn't just, at the end of your career, go, do you know what? I'm just going to...
a little bit.
I can't say you both look like you work out, because that's sliding into dodgy territory. But you players now keep themselves fit, don't they? But the temptation to just go, I'm just going to do everything that I couldn't do when I was playing must be great.
I think it's just ingrained in you. You've done it for so long since you left school. So obviously we've had 20-year careers, and I think it's just habits now of just, I know the temptation is there to indulge, and especially when you go away on holiday, have a few beers and a bottle of wine, ham and ruffles, as we spoke about. But it's just the get up and go to as well, just to go out, work out, whether it's going to be a run or a bit of the gym, it's keep healthy as well.
Is it the routine? Is that maybe what you miss more than, obviously there's going to be parts of it when you're pushing yourself to the edge that you don't miss, but the routine, the pattern of your life?
When you're a player, you get everything handed on a plate. You just go in, everything's done. Especially the higher up you go. Lower leagues, it's not so much, but the higher up you go, everything's done for you, so it's easy. So you go in, you just drive in. You don't have to think about your kit, what food you're getting, anything like that. I know it sounds something simple, but I think that's the biggest thing players miss, is having that every single day of doing it.
Yeah.
But then you talk about just letting yourself go when you finish. I think that Harry's Heroes was on a while ago, wasn't it?
Oh,
and the missus was looking at me thinking, saying, I think Neil Ruddock came on and was like, don't you dare.
There's all that kind of influence that comes into it as well, though.
Yeah, the thing with me is, and I spoke to a few players as well, the bits that I miss is, we used to travel back from a long sort of an evening game, and you get back into bed at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, the aches and pains, or the next morning, that's the bit I miss.
The aches and pains?
Yeah, the aches and pains, the either the pre-season runs where, you're thinking you can't do another 10 as it was back in the day, but you do them and then you feel good after. Them sort of weird feelings, they're the ones that I miss. Sounds pretty strange, but a lot of footballers do miss that as well.
You're still on the pitch, though, aren't you, coaching? So it's not too bad. So you can get your boots on, stuff like that. And the past couple of years I had at Burnley, especially the past year, I was literally every single day in the gym on my own. Just like difficult. No one, not on the pitch. And near the end I was running on the pitch. So I was getting different aches and pains. I started setting in competitions for myself on my own. So I was up to about 200 or 300 pull-ups a day with the ski. And I was just doing ski machines, arm bikes, everything I could think of that wouldn't hurt my leg. And so I've just carried on that during now. So I'm like, in a different way, just keep myself going.
But like you said, when you were going into pre-season training, you were always near the top of the stats. So you'd have been all right with what Romelu Lukaku did when he posted all the training stats online. It was to make a point about himself and his own fitness and speed. But okay, if you did well, you'd probably feel all right about it. But would you be happy if that kind of information was out there?
Well, he said that it got took down very quickly because the players were unhappy. But I'd say it was more down to the sports science department that have said, listen, we can't have that kind of information leaked out. But it was quite surprising. I mean, I paused it a few times to see where that list was, and there was a few big names that was down the wrong end, that's for sure.
The thing with the stats are right, and it came up at Stoke because they had a thing of training right, and some people weren't doing it, so they used to put the stats up, and then it got taken down after about a couple of weeks because people were saying, hang on a minute, and he's playing every week, but he's at the bottom of the list. He's not training right, but it didn't really change. But the stats, so that, what he put up, it was speed, wasn't it? And he put himself, he was second. So that could be from a Friday session, day for a game, you don't do a lot. You don't get up to that top speed. So we could have put a session up where I've seen it especially in the Island camps used to be a couple of lads that were obsessed with how fast they were. And they'll put the stats up and he'd be like, yeah, the quickest and this, that and the other, and he'd be like rubbing it in the other lads' faces, but he wouldn't be playing. And then the other lads in a game will be, hang on, I'm playing every game, that's what I'm doing. But you'll see people in training then where the ball goes out for a corner or something, and they sprint up to it and say, hang on a minute, what are you doing? But deliberately to get that stat up.
But there's always someone not just with the stats, there's always a player in pre-season. If fans are watching pre-season matches, there's always a player who goes and scores like a load of goals in pre-season, then doesn't feature when the start of the season comes around. Do players notice that? Do you think, well, hang on, you've got the big name who's not really done it in pre-season, but they guarantee the start. And then there might be somebody who looks like they're putting everything in. Their stats might be great. They might be scoring goals in pre-season, but they're just not getting the opportunity. Or do you know the difference?
Yeah, it all comes down to the individual. I mean, when I was at Chelsea, Didier Drogba was obviously, we know what a player he was, but Monday to Friday, he didn't really do a lot in training. But the lads accepted it because they knew when it come to game day on a Saturday, he'd go out and win you the game. And he saved his energy, saved his legs for that. Obviously, he knows in one aspect that he doesn't have to train probably full tilt Monday to Friday because he's going to be one of the first names on the team sheet anyway. Whereas the other players that are on the fringe thinking, I need to train 100% to get in the starting lineup. But he was one of the main players that come out straight away that from Monday to Friday you wouldn't really see, but on a Saturday then just set the world alight.
But you get the opposite where there'll be lads that are unbelievable in training. But then when it comes to the weekend, they go missing.
Yeah, hide and seek champions.
Hide and seek champions, we used to say. But they go missing on a Saturday, and whether it be come the big occasion, they just don't fancy it or crumble when the pressure's on. It's similar in pre-season. You get players that are flying, and then when it comes to when something actually matters, that's when it counts. And it doesn't. Pre-season's just basically just getting yourself fit. As long as you get through it injury-free, and you start that season. You could play 4 or 5 pre-season games and nothing is exactly the same as when you play that first game. There's different aches and pains.
Yeah.
And no matter what, first 10 minutes you're gone, legs are gone, you're breathing. No matter how many pre-season games you play.
Yeah, you'd want to play well pre-season to get a few good games, like personal games under your belt to go, I feel good actually. I'm in the right place. Whereas sometimes I've done a pre-season, I've gone, still not feeling as sharp because every pre-season is different at every football club. I mean, right now at Brighton, for instance, we've got a new manager, so it's a whole new regime. So they're doing a more periodisation one, which is much more rest in terms of sort of rest is key compared to what they've been used to before. So there've been times where they probably want to do more, but they've been told, no, you just need to pull the handbrake up a little bit because we're not getting fit for the start of the season. We're getting fit for Christmas, the back end of the season. So it's all different at different clubs. Yeah,
did you do the one so you would have came under Mark Hughes at Stoke?
Yeah, it was it's the same as that. Exactly the same.
It's not a hard pre-season really. There's no much. So literally, the hardest run you do is probably the first day. Quite easy. It's quite easy. Everything small-sided games where you get as you said, every club's different, and the Tony Pulis one was like completely different.
I can imagine.
The Beer Hills in Austria and like the hills were like that. And then the next you do 10 sets, and then you'd have to bike 10 sets, but you could walk quicker than going up on a bike. Like
Jermaine Penning got off the bike and picked the bike up on his shoulder and carried it up.
And he was going past people that was.
But you've got to buy into it. That's the thing. If you change a manager, you've got to buy into their different approach. There might be one who says, I want you to be working hard. I want to be like a Tony Pulis manager who's going to absolutely make sure that you're dying on the pre-season.
Mental toughness as well, pre-season. Mental, getting through it mentally. For the tougher ones is the biggest thing for me. And injury-free. If you can get through mentally and injury-free, then you're ready for the season, really.
Yeah, and a lot of it has changed in terms of it's very individualised now. You know, back in the day, it'd be the whole group would do a certain run, whereas now the strikers do explosive runs because that's more suited to their games. And the individual, I mean, again, every club's different, but you go in at Brighton, for instance, we had to do urine samples in the morning to see if we was hydrated or dehydrated. We had to do a stretch test, and all these scores were added up to see if you was fatigued. And if you was fatigued, you wouldn't train as much as X, Y, and Z. So it's very tailored now to the individual as much as the group.
And there's the football side of it, and then there's everything else that goes into pre-season, even down. You have the media days now where you have to go and stand in front of the green screen and you give us your game face then.
What? Well, you have to hold the badge.
Kiss the badge, and act like you've scored a goal.
Yeah.
And I mean,
there's some lads that love them. There's some lads that love those days. Love doing a little dance.
Yeah, but the worst one was they used to say to you, right, can you do a little dance for us? But there's no music, and it's just dead quiet in there. So you try to do it's like a silent disco. You're like, but there's no music. You try and dance, and there's no beat that you can get to. But now if they play music in the background that the lads can actually get right into, and some of them. They go proper deep, don't they, now?
How long are you in there for?
You want to get first to the queue, because if you don't get first to the queue, you're waiting all day. So you've got to go in the morning. You know which day it is. And if you can get in first in the morning, you can go right through it. But
and no one else is in there watching you as well.
There, yeah. But if you don't, you have to leave till after training, and then it's like a 2-hour wait, 3-hour wait. And there's all sorts you got to do, and then they're getting the last ones, and people are getting blue paint poured over them. It's like, what? Yeah. But then... They have the bigger players in the team as well. You know who the ones who fancy.
Yeah.
That they all get the better ones.
Oh, so they get asked to do more.
Yeah. Like, well, yeah.
But a friend of mine has worked on one of those things, and she was saying that trying to explain it to the newly promoted sides, particularly those who've been in the Premier League maybe a few years ago, can't go, that's fine, isn't it? A couple of minutes for each of the players, and then we're done. And they're like, no, not now.
Yeah, we had when I finished my career at Brighton. We used to have a day, literally the first day back, it would be, you'd have stations to go around. Obviously, one would be all the TV outlets that would be done. And then it would be, right, you need to have your teeth checked. So the dentist would be in, because a lot of...
A few lads are struggling with that.
Yeah, so there was a few people in there longer than there was on the TV ones. But there's a lot of injuries related to your teeth, especially with back and hamstring. So there was people having their eyes tested, then obviously you had the stretch tested, and all these tests was done in case, obviously, if you got injured, there was a benchmark for when you done your rehab, that you come back, that your stretches or your lunges was exactly the same. So, but that took up the whole day as well. And you literally, it was a timetable from like a slot. So right, people were jumping in front of us. No, he's in there before me.
They're the pointless tests. You come in. That's a first day normally. You go in.
Yeah.
And you go in and you do like this star test. So you got to do a single leg squat and touch your leg all the way around. Then you got to do the stretch test, then a jumping test, then a lunge test, and then all these tests as a benchmark, but you never do them again during the course of the season.
No, you don't.
And they never look back over them. So for sports scientists, and they come in, that was I hated that. It was like you go in and do it, pointless for me. I know it was a benchmark for injuries, but they all said, "Oh, we don't look over them or do them again."
No.
So
yeah,
the teeth thing, when you were saying about the injuries, that was one of Arsene Wenger's big things, and I think some of the senior players were quite sceptical about it when he first brought it in. But we'll talk about new managers coming in, and we'll talk about new players coming in. This is Liquid Football, a new show on Joe, together with Paddy Power. I'm Kelly Cates, and I'm here with Steve Sidwell and Jon Walters. A reminder that the behemoth returned last night. House of Rugby is back for a second season with James Haskell and Alex Payne. They're the only place that you hear the word behemoth across the whole of Joe. They discussed the etiquette of offering out one of your teammates on the training ground. Is there much of that in football? Is there much actual, I know there'll be times when players come to blow, but the idea that you can go and just go, yeah, right, we'll go and sort this out another time then.
There's been a lot. Well, where do we
start?
Goes
on, doesn't it?
There's lots. There's lots. But I think the best thing about it now is it is literally squashed that later on that day. I mean, I've had it personally when I was at Reading.
Which side?
Well, it was me and Nicky Shorey. It was in a training game. I had a little five-a-side going. Our team was winning. The Olays were starting. The ball's come to me. I flicked around the corner. Nicky Shorey's come down, took me out completely. I've got up. What's wrong? And we've gone face to face. Next thing you know, I've put one on his nose. He's gone back, swung for me. He's caught me. The gaffer's come out. Stop. Right, that's it. Everyone walk in. Straight into his office after. We were literally talking straight away, but we card shared. So we literally used to drive in together and drive home together. So the car journey home, we were literally like, oh, well, that was eventful today. So we literally went to the pub, had a drink, and that next morning, there's nothing. Obviously, it was just back to normal. But
I love the idea. He's like, next thing you know, I've put one on his nose. Like, it just happened. I don't know what was going on, but it just, I found myself.
I'm not normally like that, I've got to say.
To be fair, not on training ground, I don't think I've ever had a bust up in the changing room.
Everyone was too scared of you, that's why.
In the changing room, but one of them was the first season of the game. First game of the season, we had Crystal Palace. I don't know if you were at Stoke at the time, and they were winning 2-0 at half time, I think. And I think Ryan was getting skimmed by Dwight Gale, but I thought we were dead on the pitch. First game, so we had a great pre-season. First game, we were dead on the pitch. I was thinking, something needs to happen, and thought, who can I pick on to just get everyone going? So, without telling anyone, I came in and I've come for Ryan. And then me and him had a little. He was throwing bottles at me, and everyone was in between. I only did it to get everyone going. I think we went out and got a good result in the end. I think we either drew or won in the end. And there's other times with the players, and there was something with Stephen and Zonzi one time at Stoke, and just stupid things.
Did you ever tell them that did you ever go back and say, I only did that for a reaction?
I said to him after the game, I said, I only did that to wind you up, because you were shit in the first half. I was like, you were having one in the first half, and everyone was dead, and it was quiet, the fans were on us, and I was like, I only did it to get a reaction from you. And was he? And he was better second half, so it worked.
And he was happy for you to do that?
He wasn't at the time.
The House of Rugby, you can hear about the rugby perspective on that, is available on YouTube and as a podcast right now as well. But of course, the transfer window about to traditionally slam shut in the Premier League. There's going to be players can go out until the end of the month, but the teams can't bring anyone else in. You look at teams like Manchester United who've gone and brought Harry Maguire in, and we could talk about how he would fit in or whatever, but what I really want to know is if you are, for example, Chris Smalling and Harry Maguire, you see the saga going on and you're watching, what is going through your head as a player when you're looking at somebody who's coming in as a big transfer, going to be the most expensive defender in the world, and it's your place he's after?
It's always horrible, that first handshake when you see
it. To me every window at Stoke. every year it's happened to me at Stoke. They're bringing in players, but as a forward player, you'd always get that at a club. So no matter what club you're at, they'll always bring in strikers and wingers, no matter what. I think defenders, you like to have a settle back four, so that's a bit more rare. But Chris Small and Phil Jones, 100%, they'll be thinking, one of us is not playing here. And
well, there's a list. I mean, there's 5 or 6 centre backs, isn't there, at United? So it depends on the person as well. Some of them straight away is the negative. Oh, that's me done. Then I might as well get on loan. Some of them let's go toe to toe in training. Let's put best foot forward.
It does add a little bit, doesn't it? It does add a little 100%. Bit to train, and everyone will step up. But going back to no matter what people do in pre-season, that one player, Harry Maguire's going to play. So what the other two do, or how much deal and press and training he's going to play. But
they'll be looking at his stats, at the way that he's performing in pre-season, and trying to outdo him. Is that what would happen? Or at least try and match him?
That's where the politics and I think the 80 million...
But that's not just... But that's human nature. You would still...
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You think, well, one of us is going to make weight. It's not going to be me.
Yeah. But as Steve said, there'll be players that'll go the other way and go to their agent, go and find me a club. Get me out of here now. Don't want to be here. Man, you'll get players like that 100%.
Yeah.
And he'll sulk. You get players that'll just walk around and try and ruin a few session records.
Yeah. When it didn't matter what position that came in for me. Obviously, if it was my position, you'd obviously try harder to show the person that's coming in and the manager that you want to play. But even if it was a striker or any new player that come in, I'd want to perform well in front of them to set them stalled out. So because obviously everyone in football talks, and they'd be saying to that player, what's he like? And he'd say, yeah, do you know what? Good player, like him, good lad. So it was a case of always putting your best foot forward. Didn't matter who come through the door. But if it was something in your position, and then there was a few friendly games, in-house ones, you're thinking, right, if I get a chance to put one on him, I'm going to do it as well.
Well, just make sure he might not be quite as fit as he could be.
Yeah, well, someone else.
It happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, no, it does.
I love it. You both just absolutely climbed up there, like getting into legal territory there.
Or your mates, it's trying to centre half, and your mates are centre half. Oh, I'll leave one on him about up front. So just leave a little elbow on him for you.
Yeah, no, but, it does go on. It does go on.
If a new player comes in, I mean, regardless of whether or not it's in your position or whether it is a world record transfer fee, how long do they get? How many training sessions do they get before you judge them?
How much?
Because that's what. How
much? Yeah, well, that's a fair saying. If someone comes in for money, the first question, as soon as they make a mistake, everyone's on them.
Yeah.
How much? How much you pay for you?
I think it could be the first one.
Yeah.
I think literally it is the.
I've played with players that have tried to stitch me up in games, and I've played with in the Ireland team when I first got in, and I was playing, and people passing to me, but throwing a wobbling ball into me as they were passing to me, I was like, hang on a minute, what are you doing? This was in a game as well. I was thinking, he's trying to stitch me up.
Now. You can name names now.
Trying to stitch me up in games. No.
Well, actually, in the games, they're firing balls into you. And it's international scene.
We were playing in Italy. We were playing in Italy before the Euros. I don't know if it was before the squad got announced, and we were playing a Series C team, I think. And there was a player I was playing up front with, and he just kept zinging him into me. Like, I was thinking, what are you doing? I clocked. I was like, you're just trying to stitch me up here.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But
do you sing one back at him or not?
I just put it in the net. So
there we go. Happy days.
But that's why it was all right. But it was you do, 100%. It goes on.
But you judge them. I mean, even if it's a player who's not come in for a load of money, how their reputation will be cemented pretty quickly. You'll make a judgment quite quickly on whether you rate them or not.
If they come from abroad and you don't really know about them, then it's judged really quickly.
Yeah.
But are the ones that are, say, for instance, the Harry Maguire example, he's a top class player. But when things don't go right, then it's more the banter, isn't it?
A player could move to a big club like that and then have an absolute nightmare for 6 months and just not be able to cope with a big club. And it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that could happen as well, and just not be able to cope with every day going into dealing with being a Man United player. But you are judged straight away by the players, but ultimately it's only when you play. Ultimately it's what you produce in games for me, because you get players that don't train well. What you said about Didier Drogba, there's plenty of players like that don't train well. If they produce in games, you don't care what they do in training. If they train and only just turn up on a Friday and then go out and play on a Saturday.
But going into a new club for that first day back, I mean, obviously, if you guys will have known people at the clubs that you've been to, but going in cold, not knowing anybody, for a player who's, like you said, might have come from abroad, who may not speak the language particularly well.
Yeah.
They've got a really short time to make an impression.
It is literally like first day at school. It's like literally first day at new school. You may know someone.
Pencil case.
You may know half the dressing room, but still, it's a new environment. It's a new regime, new surroundings, and it does take a couple of days to settle in.
What do you have to take it? I made a joke about a pencil case there, and I'm like, what do you take with you? Do you take your own boots, a little wash bag? What do you take in?
It's just a black bin liner, isn't it?
Bin bag full of your boots and your wash bag.
Yeah,
and that's all you need.
And
everything else is laid on. Everything else is laid on for you. But what you need if you're a new player, you need a night out.
Yeah.
You need that. Everyone wants it as well. Pre-season night out.
Yeah.
Towards the end of pre-season, you do all your work. You normally go away somewhere, and all the lads are desperate. Like, when are we having a night out to the manager?
Yeah.
Isn't it? And you need that.
Them weeks away, them pre-season weeks away, they're key. They're key for team bonding as well, especially if you've got new signings in. And then new signings, if you can get them in as early as possible, it kind of sets a stall out for that season as well, because the players are within the camp, they're like, we're going for it here. And then on the opposite side, I mean, I remember when I was at Chelsea, when I signed for Chelsea that summer, it was me, Tal Ben-Ahim and Claudio Pizarro, all free transfers. So you look at it on the other foot, I'm absolutely buzzing because I'm going there. It's a massive step up for me. But then I'm thinking, well, what's Frank Lampard, what's John Terry thinking that Man United are spending, Liverpool are spending, Arsenal might be spending, but we're getting free transfers, one from Reading, one from Bolton, I think Tal was. So it can as well have a negative approach as well. But going back on the positive side, the ones that come in through the door that are big names, it lifts everyone massively.
But that idea of going into a club like Chelsea, where it's not just what the other players might think, you're aware of what the fans are saying as well, the rumblings of, well, we've not done this in the transfer market, we've not done that.
Yeah.
That is as a player, how do you cope with those kind of rumblings?
I mean, that specific Chelsea experience for me. I mean, obviously it was a dream come true for me. Chelsea family from Chelsea. You know, I was born in Wandsworth. It was huge, and then you look at obviously the signings and obviously Mourinho left not long after that, and I think them signings as well was probably maybe a way. I might be wrong here, but a way of Mourinho saying, okay, if you're not going to give me money, then I'll just go out and get, you know, some free transfers, and then we'll see how we fare. And it was maybe like a stick your fingers up at the ball to say, well, I'll try and work my magic with what you're going to give me. So, you know, there's always different sides.
Did you get that from him?
I didn't at all. No, he was Joe Watt, and he's obviously changed over the years, and we've seen how he's changed over the years. But back then, he's man management, and everyone knows what he was like when he first come on the scene. He had literally everyone in the palm of his hand, whether he was in the 1 to 11, whether he was on the bench, or whether he was even out the squad. He had this knack of getting his arm around you. When it got around you, you feel like going, like, you know, don't come near me. But after a conversation with him, he'd know everything about the kids, the family, what's going on, and then you felt just part of the unit again.
That's the biggest thing now with teams. 25-man squads, every Premier League team, and it's not the 11 you got to look after. It's 14 other players.
Yeah.
So you get 1 or 2 that cause a problem, that can quickly spread. A few bad results, that's spread right through.
Yeah.
For me.
And it's man management, isn't it, as well now for managers? They need to be tactically astute, yes, we know that, but it's now how do you deal with all the egos and all the research and the criteria that goes into signing a player. That's not just done on their performances. That's what the due diligence is of what's the person like away from football. Has he got a family? Has he got kids? Does he go out? Has he got people around him? What's his friends like? All that's all done before pen to paper as well.
That's what Tony Pulis was very good at Stoke. And the amount of times before I joined Stoke, players ringing me up saying I've had Tony Pulis on the phone asking me about you. Yeah. I had 4 or 5 different players.
Really?
What did
just
they
asking
say?
what you like as a lad. Said you were a good lad. Said you were a good lad. So, but then, on the flip side of that, we had players coming at Stoke, and you're thinking, has no one done the research on this lad?
But what would a player who was bad in that sense? What would they be like then?
So you talk about Mbula before.
Mm-hmm.
Now I really like as a lad. He's very quiet. He came in the change room, didn't want to speak any English, did he? Just that, and then you get cliques forming straight away because you get the only French speaking lads and the only Spanish speaking lads, and you get everyone that sort of mixes. But then, you just think, well, he's producing at Benfica. How isn't he producing here? And then he was just
Stoke's record signing as
well.
He
was a Stoke's record signing. Whether he's still there or not, I don't know. And
I missed him. I left just as he came in. He was my replacement.
But he was. I tell you what, you could give him a ball and he'd run past 8 players in training and be unbelievable. I thought he's a talent here. But then, whether he didn't get the chance in a game, whether he didn't speak well enough English and he couldn't understand what was being, I don't know. But you get players that you should do your background information a bit more on some, but others that they don't, and you think, well, you've just gone and spent a record amount of money on someone that hasn't fitted in. Or
do you help players when they? The reason I'm asking is because I remember ages ago it was one of the Glasgow clubs, I think it was Rangers, where players would come in and instead of teaching them how to speak Queen's English like they would have learnt at school, they would teach them broad Glaswegian. So instead of going in and going, hello, please may I have a sandwich, they'd be like, all right, can I get a piece? And they would teach them like proper Glasgow thing. And the lads who were learning it had no idea that they were being taught something that wasn't really going to be much use to them outside of a sort of 5 mile radius.
It's pretty much going back to school, isn't it? Like the first words you kind of learn are the swear words, especially for the foreign lads that
so
come over.
That's
the best thing you ask. So when you play the Spanish team, you might say, give me some words. I don't just say it to the centre half I'm playing against. And it's the first thing you do, but you try and help the lads that come in. You've got to.
Always
do. Normally you have a captain or club captain, and a good one will always try and help, and that goes down to go back to what I was saying about a night out. As soon as you get a night out and everyone's sort of more relaxed, you get that character coming out of that person, and they suddenly become a lot more relaxed around the place.
And if they're more relaxed and they're more settled in, then they start producing on the pitch. You know, ultimately that's what it's all about. But in saying that, doesn't matter whether the transfer's 500,000 or 80 million to Harry Maguire. Every transfer's a gamble, whether they're foreign or English. I mean, Harry Maguire, we know how well he can play, but that doesn't mean to say that he's going to do it at United. So there's a gamble with everyone, especially the foreign lads that come over, because for me, it is the hardest league in the world.
There's a lot that goes into it as well with foreign lads. There's a lot more than you think. Well, not even when I moved to Ipswich, it was a big thing for me and my family.
It was like a new country.
It was in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, but when they signed, they had a pack and they had like directions to different places, and that was a help. But other clubs will just leave you to do it. But if you get a family, if you get a family
did your family
settled,
move with you to Ipswich?
I got a flat to rent, and then they came down. I only had one daughter at the time, and they moved to the flat and sort of went back over the summer. And I bought a house without even selling them. And I was like, I bought a house. So normally you run everything past your missus, don't you? So you don't normally do that. But
so you went home to your wife and said,
I've got
guess
us
what,
a house.
I've got a ribbon round it.
So it was...
and was it? And then what? I've bought a house. Come with, move down then.
Well, they were going to move anyway, but I didn't even consult her. I was like, right, I'm doing it. I'll just sort it. But as soon as you get the family settled, I think you get the players settled. Because if they're not settled or they live in a different part of the country, and all they're thinking about is when am I going home? When can I go back? And I think for me,
when a transfer does happen, the first person the player will meet will be the player liaison officer. Every club now has got a player liaison officer that does absolutely everything, from obviously looking after the family to finding a house or an apartment to rent, getting the kids in school, for the foreign lads paying their bills, council tax, car insurance. Literally, a player now won't have to touch a thing. The player liaison officer will do everything.
I'd quite like one.
I did everything myself. I didn't like that.
But some players
will do everything themselves, and there's some players. Right, so we had Marco at Stoke.
Oh God! Yeah.
And we had two. I can't remember the company that came. We had we had a liaison officer, but then they got two ladies come in that they were a company that they came in and he said, right, we're going to look after everything. So lads were like bringing letters in, like bringing all the fines in, and can you pay them? And I was like, you just not pay them yourself? Yeah. But then they were like, car
parking fines, anything, wasn't it?
They've had us round to change a light bulb in his house, and then they had to travel. Someone had to travel an hour.
Is that a true story? Because I thought that was like an urban myth, because that's the one that sort of does the rounds as a rumour, but that's a true story.
That's a true story,
yeah. Had to play a liaison around to change a light bulb.
Player couldn't work the cooker, didn't know what to do with the cooker, he's never done it before. Everything was, the packaging was still in there, it was a brand new one. Had to call the player liaison officer to come round to show him how to turn all these...
Come on. Who couldn't work a cooker? Come on.
That's a problem when footballers finish.
It could be anyone.
That's a problem people are going to face, because they get everything done for them.
Yeah.
And we say the first day, and you have your kit, everything, food, everything, routine. But you could have, if you wanted, you could have absolutely everything done for you. And that's a problem when players finish. And it's a stupid thing, like just small things. They don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Don't know how to... Who never made a cup of tea? What player was that?
Phil Neville.
Phil Neville.
It was Phil Neville, and didn't make it till he went into the media.
Well. Michael Owen have something.
Wow.
I think Michael Owen's thing was he'd never watched the film because he couldn't suspend disbelief for that long. That was Phil Neville who couldn't make a cup of tea. He can now.
I can't have that.
But what about players who? I mean, we're talking about players coming in and them adapting. If you're in a dressing room with a player who wants to leave. Or have you ever been the player that wanted to leave and maybe agitated for a move? I'm thinking about if you're Lauren Koscielny's teammate, are you thinking, I understand that he's maybe manoeuvring to get out of the club, or are you unhappy at the way he's gone about it?
There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. He was there for 9 years, wasn't he? So he when he's gone, what's he done? He's took his shirt off and he's got the other shirt underneath. Now I can understand if it was a Barcelona shirt, but it's not, is it? But you don't know what's gone behind the scenes. But there's a bit of animosity behind the scenes at the club he's been at, and he might have just gone, right, I'll do it. But then you get the whole signing thing now has become a farce, isn't it? So he would have gone to the new club and he've gone, I've got a great idea. Yeah, can you do this for us? And he's at a new club as well. You also got to think, if he's not big enough to say, no, I'm not doing that, he'll just do it. So that's what might have happened with him as well.
There's loads on the training pitch, people have been known to boot balls around, disrupt sessions and just cause carnage. And these are like good lads. People and even the players are thinking, wow, I've not seen that sort of side to him before. But he's obviously desperate to get out, to force to move through. And now the player power that there is, 9 times out of 10, it does go on. I mean, the Lukaku one, for instance, he's not even trained, is he really, all pre-season? Hasn't played a lot of pre-season game, I don't think, either. And now he's out in Anderlecht and not even gone back.
What would you think if that was your team? Not necessarily Lukaku, because we don't know everything that's gone on there. But if it was your teammate who was behaving in a way that was disruptive like that.
I think there's a lot to say of player power, but I think the clubs ultimately. If you get a chairman that wants to leave you and say, right, you'll sit down and not play for you. It's happened. The lads at Wolves years ago happened to them, and they were in the bomb squad. There's always a bomb squad or a Monday session, isn't there? There's always a Monday club.
What's the Monday club?
The Monday club's the lads that don't play on a Saturday. They got their extra on a Monday, but you always get like a few. But that's quite a good group, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you always get some players that are moaning or something. You never really know what goes on behind the scenes. One when I was leaving Ipswich. So from the moment I joined, people were trying to sign me, and it was close to home, and I was like in the middle of nowhere. But then I had a great time at Ipswich. But every transfer window, people were coming in, and Jimmy Jilton was the manager at the time. And then I was like, "You're turning down 4 or 5 million moves to go to the Premier League." And I think it was 27, 28 at the time. And I was thinking, I'm not going to get the chance to play again. I think with him, but he ended up staying fine and carried on. Then Roy Keane came in. I remember we played over in Cork, and I had a nightmare in a game. I think we all did. And Normal came in. It was one of his first games. Absolutely battered on. He came to me and he's like, 4.5 million for you. I'd chop his arm off with it. If someone came in with me for that, and I was thinking, oh, great, yeah, okay, fantastic. First game in, thinking that. But then obviously I came on, did really well, carried on, ended up being captain there. And then other clubs were still coming in for me. And I was thinking, I was getting a little bit older, and I was like, we weren't doing too well in the league, and to go and play Premier League football, and I've been at Ipswich 4 or 5 years, and to move near home, you might not get that chance again. So, I had a knock on the door, can I have a word? And I know clubs are coming in for me. He's like, how do you know? Like, yeah, I know that clubs are coming in, because you're not meant to know, but you do know. And he says, well, if someone comes in the right offer, I'll let you go. Basically, but only if they match your valuation. So that was going on for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Would they tell you what the valuation was?
No. The clubs never do that. No.
So a mystery valuation.
They match your valuation. It'll change last minute as well. So
it's like those running tests that you were talking about earlier. I'm not going to tell you how many there are.
And you're not meant to know what's going on. So that's where agents come in, and it's like they know, and they speak to agents. It all goes on. Everyone knows. So then I knock on the door again. I think this was the second time I knocked, and then it was. I've told you once. I'm not going to tell you again. Unless they meet our valuation, and they haven't met our valuation, so you're not going. And then I said, I can't remember what I said to him. I can't remember.
Go on.
I was like, oh, piss off or something. It's a fucking joke. I was like, this is a fucking joke. This it's going on. I know what they've bid. And he's like, who do you think you're talking to? I was like,
the eyes just
you know what? And I was like, but then it switched me, and I was like, I'm talking to you, basically. It was like, and he's like, right. So then for the next 15, 20 minutes, he took his watch off, jumper off. We were head to head in his office, like kids. And this went on, I said, 10 or 15 minutes. I won't go into everything what was said now. That's probably for another time. It was like 10 or 15 minutes, came back, went to go out again, said something else, came back in, back head to head. All sorts of threats were going on. And then I left the
threats,
office then.
Like threats against each other, or threats that I'm going to do this at the club, or I'm going to...
No, it was just more me and him.
Just head to head.
It was just more me to him.
Yeah. Just that
it was
one
just
way.
more me to him, and then it was... and then...
That's brave.
Basically the next day...
Very brave.
Not for me. For me... Yeah, he was a good player, he was a good tackler and all that, but he wasn't... He's not someone to be scared of for me. I know people to be scared. He's not someone to be scared of, for me anyway. So I was like, all that was said in the conversation we had, and then I went out the office, and then I was like, all the lads could hear what was going on, and they were like, can't believe you just. And then I was like, okay, it's done now. And then all the lads went out training, and I think I got told to train with the kids, and I was running around like sort of half thinking, oh, what have I done? But half like laughing to myself, and they all knew what was going on. The next day was gone.
Really similar to when I left Sky Sports News. You're listening to Liquid Football, brought to you by Joe, together with Paddy Power, with me, Kelly Cates, alongside Jon Walters and Steve Sidwell. Still to come, we can look forward to the start of a brand new Premier League season. First, though, a reminder that you can download TKO with Carl Frampton right now, and we did think they'd be talking about his fight this weekend until disaster struck.
I just feel like I've been away from my kids, and summer holidays, they've been off school, I've been away. I just feel like an absolute waste, mate. An absolute waste. And money down the drain. Probably got to 30k in a training camp. Been out here in Philly about 3 and a bit weeks now. And nothing to show for it. The plan was to have this fight and fight for a world title. Yeah. So the plan is now still to fight for a world title. This fight has not happened. It hasn't happened for whatever reason. I'm not getting any younger. No. I don't want to be sitting around waiting here. I want to be involved in big fights. I want to go straight back into a big title.
He broke 2 bones in his hand in a freak accident while drinking coffee in a hotel lobby. Hear the full story and where Carl Frampton goes next on the latest episode of TKO, available now. On Liquid Football, though, Jon Walters and Steve Sidwell. And we're going to start looking ahead to a brand new Premier League season, a brand new manager at your old club, Chelsea, and it's a man you know, Frank Lampard. With that inability to register new players, did it seem like a sensible approach for a man who, you know, what his relationship with the club is like? Yeah,
I think it's a perfect fit straight away. I think, if you be honest, I think Frank would probably admit it's come too early in his managerial career. We know that. What he done last year at Derby was fantastic, considering the budget they had to cut, the tools of getting loan signings in, worked very well. But when you get an opportunity like that, you don't turn it down. And then what he's done so well is obviously the group that he's got with him. So he's got Jody with him, Jody Morris, that has worked at Chelsea for 5-6 years beforehand, knows the whole youth system inside out, promoted Joe Edwards, again, fantastic coach, knows all them young players, not only their ability technically, tactically, but mentally as well. Can they deal with it? Because a lot of managers will go into new clubs and see the player but don't know the player. So you've got obviously Frank at the head of it, that was obviously again tactically astute, but he wants to be an out-and-out manager. We know that. That's why he's got Jody and Joe Edwards to do the coaching from day to day, and he'll give his input. But I think it'd be a blessing in disguise, especially if you're a youngster there now. You know, you're thinking, I've been waiting for this opportunity to try and get in the first team. If I can't get it now, then I'll never get it. You know, especially the likes of, you know, Reece James there's got a great chance. Mason Mount,
Tammy Abraham.
He's got a great chance to stake a claim. Hudson-Odoi, obviously he's going there with Hudson-Odoi and Loftus-Cheek that are injured, which isn't a great start. But for me, Loftus-Cheek he could be anything that he wants to.
But even Ross Barkley's meant to have been on fire in pre-season.
He's done really well. And
you could see like coming in with someone that knows him, put an arm around him.
Oh, definitely.
But then you got then above Frank though, you got Peter Cech as well.
Which I think
is brilliant. I think that's brilliant. Like, he'll be the link between the chairwoman, is it?
Marina Granath.
Yeah. So he'll be the link, but he obviously will know both sides of it now.
Yeah.
So he'll be someone to lean on as well, and will help with all things.
Yeah.
So
McLealy's come back in the fold, hasn't he? We know Paulo Ferreira was doing the loan signings as well. So listen, there's a lot of old school that's come back and that's working behind the scenes that was all there in their glory days. You know, when there was a real a threat in the Premier League and obviously Europe as well. But I think with Frank, he's got that mentality, you know, going into him deep, you know, the way he was as a player. You know, he's going to be feeling pressure as a manager, but he felt pressure as a player. You know, how many times have you seen him step up to take penalties for Chelsea, winning penalties in massive games, especially for his country as well. So it's going to be a different type now that you're on the other side of the line, but it's going to be a similar type because they're all big games. Every game now is going to be big, and he's going to be judged from the word go as well.
It'll be judged. I think it'll work, but it'll take time to work. Give him a bit of time to work.
But that would have been the stipulation when he's gone there.
Yeah. So I think it will work the way they're doing it, similar to like an Ajax sort of mould, where you bring in the ex-players, technical directors, and you have everyone working together, people that know each other, because at clubs, when new managers come in and you have a sports scientist, you have the stats guy, they might want to bring their own physio in, and there's clashes, isn't there? So if he knows the club, I think it'll work. If
you're a Chelsea fan and you look at it and you think, to go into the club with all those legends around, you can understand the excitement from that perspective. But as a young player, what do you get out of it? What do you get out of being around, like in your a Vieira or an Henry or someone like that?
It's just living life properly, especially nowadays. Kids nowadays have to be athletes. You know, they are naturally fit, we know that. But to be at the very highest level, you just got to watch, you got to study. When I went to Chelsea when I was 24. And I still learnt loads then from the season that I was there of different types of players on and off the pitch, how to conduct yourself, little flicks, little tricks, just watching, studying. I improved tenfold.
What kind of things did you learn then?
Sometimes players think they need to pass the ball, but it's always now about little flicks. You know, sometimes if someone sticks a leg out, sometimes the best way to get over it is just flicking the ball over. JT, obviously, the way to conduct yourself, you know, around the pitch, how to be a leader, an arm around a shoulder, kick up the backside to someone else. Watching Lampsey day in, day out. I mean, I've never seen someone train as hard as him. You know, the hours that he put in and all the goals that he scored throughout his career. It's not a fluke. It's down to the hours that he's put in, left and right foot, one side of the box, the other side of the box, balls being fizzed at him, knowing when to take a touch, when not to. You know, all these little 1-2%, these all add up, and these will add up to make you into a top player.
Another multiple Premier League winner, Wayne Rooney, is off to Derby, and something that nobody saw coming. I think he's going to go at the end of the MLS season and go and join them in January as player coach, to go in and learn from Philip Cocu, and to also give his knowledge, I imagine, to the players. But he still wants to be able to contribute as a player.
I find it as a bit of an odd one, because I thought he would have went back to possibly a Premier League club. If he's gone back to a Championship club, he's not managing, he's player coach now. Is he gonna have an opportunity to go into management with them or something like that? Is there something lined up? There's a bit of a funny thing about it. So a couple of months ago, someone said to me there was a sniff of him going back to Man United in January. And from that to going to Derby, for me, if there was something in that and there was a bit of truth in that, and to go into Derby, there's a big difference. Whether it's a family thing, whether they just want to move back, I don't know. But I'm sure he would have had other options.
Yeah, he's fit enough. He looks fit enough. I mean, I watched some of the MLS games. People say you can't compare the MLS to obviously the Championship or obviously the Premier League here, but he looks fit. He's won
over a lot of the fans in DC United, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he didn't go out there for a holiday, that's for sure.
But there was that sort of that sense that he was being like putting himself out to pasture to go and give himself. But that's.
I don't think you can get away with that nowadays.
What's happened?
No,
and you can't get away with it in the Championship nowadays. The Championship changed from what it was 5-6 years ago. The Championship's completely different. The lads there, the fitness levels are unbelievable. When I went to Ipswich for that time, that was some of the hardest training.
It's some of the hardest training, and they are players who are just.
They're all aspiring to be Premier League players as well.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. They're so close to that.
Whereas you used to get the biggest thing for me when I went from Ipswich to Stoke, stood in that Stoke tunnel, and I was probably the smallest. Everyone was like 6'3", massive. And that wasn't just Stoke. Every Premier League team was the same. And it's changing a bit now, but all those the difference between the Championship and the Premier League was that for me. It was the physicality and the quickness of it. But I think the Championship's catching up, and there's so many big clubs there that a team's coming down, and there's a lot of money going into it as well. So for me, there's not that.
But still, though, even like you said, if there was this chance that he could have gone back to Manchester United, he's at Derby now, and the sense of excitement. You see Mel Morris, the owner, he looks like a school kid. He's giddy about the fact that Wayne Rooney's going to be going there. Yep. The reports, from inside the training ground are that all the players, when he went in to visit them, are all really excited that he's going to be there. He takes that presence and that history. He'll hope that there's still plenty more to come. But he takes all of that with him. Are you surprised at how excited everybody seems to be about him going there?
It's Wayne Rooney.
It's Wayne Rooney.
Are there then certain players that walk in and everybody goes...
Well, what he brings, And he hasn't just gone to the MLS and stopped. He's carried on the goals he scored, and then he had a showcase the other day, and the technique he has. And if he is still as fit, he'll go in there. And what he brings around it as well, it'll be manic there constantly. The publicity they'll get from a derby, and what he'll bring to that club will be huge. Yeah. But he's got to produce. Ultimately, it'll go down to he's got to produce still. I think
he's going to be playing. I think this player coach. I think he's going to be a player this season, and then in his off time, he'll be going into the manager's office and maybe just getting little just snippets of why have we done this, why have we done that, and then because once you start doing that, I found this. Yeah. When I started doing my badges, because I'd done mine when I was playing, you look at football completely different. You look at training sessions completely different. You look at games completely different. And even when you're at home and you're watching games, you don't tend to watch the ball. You tend to be watching everything around it.
The only thing is, though, if you go into a club and you're part of that coaching staff, but you're a player.
So that's why I think
it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's why I think he's dividing himself. I think he's going to be a player. I think he's going to be a player.
You've got to be. I don't think you can go in as a coach and then go in the dressing room and be one of the lads. I don't think he will anyway. But
does it help that he's coming in new as a player coach, that he doesn't have to make that transition from being one of the squad to?
Because it can change, and you've got to be careful then, because the players love a moan, don't they? Yeah. Everyone moans, whether it means something or not in the change room. If you're like, if someone was a coach, you'd be careful what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, just make sure it doesn't go past any ears that might not want to hear it. Very quickly, predictions for this season in terms of Manchester City and Liverpool. The Paddy Power title odds: City 9-4 on, Liverpool 11-4. Does that sound about right?
I don't see anyone getting past City again.
City for me.
I don't. For me, what it comes down to is, can the players match Pep's desire? Because you can see what he's like, especially we've seen this season now. They've won games off 3 or 4, 5 or 6-0, and he's still one of these players. Now it's down to the players, can they keep matching that and dominate English football? Because that's what they've done the last 2 seasons. I think Liverpool, they're going to fall short.
City for me, 100%. I can't see anyone past them, same as you. Yeah. I think Liverpool, I think they probably do well in Europe again. I just think over a season. But they had an unbelievable year last year.
They just can't repeat that year. They lost one game last season.
And you could have said that City wouldn't repeat the season before, and then went exactly close to repeating again.
Whether Tottenham, who knows what will happen between now and the window shut, and whether they sign a few and they go for it again. But I think City's squad and just little things you hear from the City camp, and the way Liverpool play, like it's quick counter attack, and then. I went on my B licence in the summer down in Wales, and we had a guy from City there, and he was just speaking about different formations and how they play, and there's some things you wouldn't believe, like what they do, and obviously it can be analysed to death, and I still didn't know that's how they do things and the reason why they do them, and it's always like a few steps ahead, because he's not going to get isolated on his own in defence, and it's like unbelievable.
Yeah,
we might come back to that. No, we're not giving away any trade secrets, but at some stage over the next few weeks, we might well come back to that. We're going to move on now, though, to our Paddy's Punt Challenge. We'll have a different challenge every week. One of you will win £250 for the charity of your choice. Let's see how the boys got on.
In this week's Paddy Punt Challenge, we're going to be asking the general public, do you know this man? I've got a massive photo of Stephen Sidwell, a.k.a. Ben Watson.
And I've got a picture of Sir Jon Walters, a.k.a. Just for Men.
Quickest one to get recognised wins.
Good luck.
Excuse me, do you know who this man is?
No, I don't.
No. You sure?
But he looks familiar.
Who does he look like?
It's not Nicky Butt, is it?
Close, but no cigar.
Excuse me, sir. Can I ask you a question, please? Do you recognise this man? You haven't got a clue. Would you like to have a guess?
No.
Do you know who this guy is?
No.
No.
Some sort of sportsman.
Could be. Good answer. I like that answer. Good.
Do you recognise this man?
I don't know.
Where are you from?
I'm from Ireland, and this is Joe, so I should know.
This is Sir Jon Walters. Does that ring a bell? No. Football player?
No.
No.
I feel really bad now.
He's going to feel gutted.
Who does he look like? Chesney off Coronation Street?
Oh yeah, slightly.
He does. Yeah. It's not him, though. It's not him. Thank you, though. Thank you.
Excuse me. Do you know this man?
No.
Never seen him before? No.
No idea.
Thank you very much.
Could it be someone else?
I thought at first it could be Ben Watson.
I think it's the same person, you know. Well done, pal, you won. Thank you very much.
Just to ask a question, do you recognise this man?
No.
Not Not at all?
Not at all.
No.
Sorry.
Would you like to take a guess?
Footballer?
That's very good.
That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, I don't. No idea at all. Does anyone know who this guy is? Well, there's 10 people. No.
Do you recognise this man? Just look at it, study it. Do you recognise him? Wait, these are like awards.
So there you have it. Jon Walters is officially the most famous player on Liquid Football, at least according to the good people who walked past Joe HQ a little bit earlier on. Paddy Power also giving you, as winner, a £250 free bet to add to the £250 that you already have won for your charity. So has anything caught your eye this weekend?
I think I'm going to go with the heart here. I think I'm going to go for Everton away at Crystal Palace. I'm there 11-8.
Go on, what are the head reasons then?
The head reasons?
Yeah.
No, I'm just going hard. No, the head reasons. They got some team, Everton, and they're spending a lot of money and they're building it. And I went through the team last year and every position was like £30 million signing, 40, £50 million signing. So they're throwing a lot of money at it, and I think it's only a matter of time before it clicks with them. And they've had a good pre-season. Hopefully they'll kick on first win of the season away at Palace.
Well, Liquid Football is a new show brought to you by Joe together with Paddy Power. We're a YouTube show and a podcast, so if you've got anything nice to say, it would be lovely if you would leave us a review. Don't forget to download and watch our boxing show, TKO with Carl Frampton, and the new series of House of Rugby with James Haskell. Thank you very much to John and to Steve, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
You've been watching Liquid Football on Joe, sponsored by Paddy Power.